Can we talk just for a minute about how kind of brilliant the idea, the design of a gi is? I know, right? Do-gi, karate gi, judo gi, right? Gi by itself is not a coherent Japanese word. It needs a modifier. I get that. I'm not here to argue that. But it's a useful and interesting piece of kit. Now, these days, I don't wear a gi very often. I haven't consistently worn a gi since, I was in a Kempo school, and that was quite a long time ago. And I pull one out every once in a while to review some Kempo. Or if one of my jiu-jitsu friends is around and wants to try something out or show something. Even though I do catch wrestling and I don't play in a gi, I figured I might as well have something on hand. Now, that does bring into light something, right? And when you bring it into grappling, which is really where the brilliance of the gi comes in, you need something that is going to be durable and will stand up to repeated use, which is why this is a judo gi, despite it being black. I specifically sought out black because I'm a Kempo guy, and black is not a competition legal color in judo. It's just a cheap single weave, standard judo design. I purposefully got it just like half size, oversized, for bigger sleeves and whatnot, because we do find some use for it when we're practicing Wing Chun. Some of the movements make a little more sense, or at least have a use when you're dealing with clothing grips, which were actually somewhat common. Chinese wrestling is jacket wrestling, derived from Mongolian and Qing style wrestling. They do have body-to-body stuff, of course, but the dominant style of wrestling in China is jacket wrestling, and again, derived largely from Mongolian wrestling. And so, it is a good thing to be able to practice your techniques in a context that actually matches the original intent. And even though this is not a Mongolian, I don't remember what the bulk jacket is called. It's almost more of a harness than a jacket. And then, of course, the Shuaijiao jacket is a short sleeve, open-chested jacket, whereas these are much more closed-chested. But it does the trick. Now, there's nothing special about a gi in the sense of it being like athletic apparel. I always found the pants to be more restrictive than more modern style athletic pants, because despite the fact that I like stiff, sturdy material, they seem to be designed to be worn extremely high-waisted, and I like to wear, the kind of a mid-rise, low-rise type waist. It's just more comfortable on my hips, not up around over my belly button. And so having all that extra fabric hanging too low restricts your ability to kick and move in wider stances and whatnot. So I actually find the gi trousers quite restrictive and uncomfortable to use. And then the jacket, if you're not using it for grappling, doesn't actually do anything special, right? Other than just being an overcoat that you can train in. If you're not actually using it for anything, it might as well be a t-shirt. It doesn't offer you any unique benefits for striking or non-grappling otherwise pursuits, right? It's not protective in any sort of way, so it becomes just kind of a stylistic choice. And of course, that goes back to it really goes back to in the karate world. It goes back to Funakoshi adopting Kano's judo gi, and there's a whole evolution there, and people have written and spoken on this in ways better than I will be able to address. Just understand that it is entirely borrowed from judo, right? And judo is kind of an important figure in the world of martial arts in general. And that, we can talk about that another time. When it comes to grappling, one of the things that jiu-jitsu guys like to say all the time when they get kind of poked fun at for wearing a bathrobe is that, like, well, nobody walks around in a bathrobe. T-shirts aren't jackets, and they're just going to rip and all that stuff. And that's all well and true. Now, as a wrestler, I will tell you that I personally believe that you are better off training your grappling body to body first, because it's less dependent on equipment that may or may not be present in a real fight. Now, if you're training just for sport competition, right, then train specifically for your sport. If you're training for gi, jiu-jitsu, or judo, then train specifically for that. If you're training for self-defense or MMA, the gi is not going to directly contribute in a meaningful way for a while. It will eventually make you better at defense. That is one thing discussing with my BJJ friends, right? Wrestling will tend to make you better at offense, and the gi will tend to make you better at defense, just because when you're wearing this, you're made out of handles. So you have to defend more, and you have to be much more aware of kind of more hard to read and tangential things, because people can grab you all over with this and use it as a weapon against you. So in that sense, right, the critics are right. But on the other side of it, right, now look, I'm in Phoenix, right? Our school's in Mesa, but I live in Phoenix, and the Phoenix Metro Valley area is very hot right now. Right, this is July when I'm filming this, right? It's very hot here. People are not walking around in jackets most of the year. In fact, pretty much like March or April, all the way through till like November, is pretty much t-shirt and shorts weather, And so you only get a couple of months where it's cold enough to really need a jacket, and then you only kind of end up needing a light jacket. So training in the gi for self-defense isn't really going to do you very much good here. And the fact is that, like, if you were going to say, well, you can translate these things into a t-shirt, well, yeah, maybe. And I've seen some cool t-shirt techniques, but the mechanics on them are so much more different that you might as well just buy some cheap disposable t-shirts and train in those, because they're going to get torn up and ripped, and and you deal with that. But this video is not about criticizing the gi, right? This video is about kind of the brilliance of it, and that is the fact that in most places in the world where people live, people do wear jackets or overshirts more frequently, because most of the habitable zone of most of the populated Earth has more temperature changes. And that means that you are going to have options, and you're going to have opportunities in a street fight, a self-defense scenario, where grabbing a collar or a sleeve may actually be a more viable option than trying to get a wrist, an elbow, a collar tie, something like that. And this is something that allows you to practice that over and over and over again at a reasonably low cost, without constantly ripping it and having to order a new one. Now, I mean, you will eventually wear it out, but the fact is that it is purpose-built for the art of grappling, and it gives you an opportunity to do something that normal clothing wouldn't. Even if you were to say, take like a BDU jacket from the military, that is not designed to actually handle that consistent grappling use. And then on top of that, it's got pockets and buttons and stuff that could end up just causing inadvertent training injuries, which, like, on the one side, look, you need to train in what you're going to be using, which is why the military trains in their actual combat clothes, because they need to be able to feel what that move's like and how it feels and how they use it. But for your average civilian, you're not walking around in BDUs and stuff. So there's no point in going out of your way for that, because it's going to be less durable and not specific to your scenario. And you certainly don't want to go buy like an $80 jacket, have it last for 2 weeks, and then it gets ripped up. Now, yeah, look, this was a cheap one, and this was like $50 when I bought it, and that was before the economy tanked. So I don't know what it's running at right now, but the fact is, I mean, like, even a gi is not that cheap, but the fact is that this will last for years, especially with the sparseness that I use it at. It's going to last for a long, long time. which makes your dollars per use actually spread out really in a really favorable way and allow you to get that training in. So, I've mentioned this before, but it's like, look, if you're going to wear a gi, now look, I get it, right? Karate, Kempo, Taekwondo, that kind of stuff. Wear what your school says you have to wear, right? That was a question that I got recently, about, if some schools are picky about it. Absolutely they are. Certain schools, organizations, and competitions are going to be extremely picky about what the participants wear. Just, do what it takes to be part of that, or find a new organization. Those are your two options there, right? But in schools that are more forgiving or more lenient about those kind of things, if you have the option to wear a judo or jiu-jitsu jacket instead, that is going to expand your options, right? And the traditional martial arts involve a lot of grappling, way more than what we're led to believe in many schools. And you should know, if you're going to wear the gi anyway, you should know how to grapple with it. Jeff Speakman's Kempo 5.0 involves a lot more grappling. When I was doing American Kempo, we were still in the AKKS, which was Speakman's organization before Kempo 5.0. So I never got any of that Kempo 5.0 stuff. But it's largely jiu-jitsu based, but with a Kempo flavor. I haven't seen enough of it to make a judgment call on it, but they seem to be making a good faith effort. So if you're going to do that, wear the gi, right? Professor Serio, who was the kind of the grandmaster over the lineage that I was first in, he was also skilled in judo and jiu-jitsu. Not Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu. And when you look at a lot of his techniques, a lot of them involved grabbing sleeves and collars and stuff. And so, again, you're going to be better off getting a judo or jiu-jitsu gi top to make that stuff work. It'll allow you to actually effect the grappling in a way that is going to be cost effective for you. Yes, it's going to be hotter to wear. Learn how to deal with it. As long as you're not getting heat stroke, just learn how to deal with being a little bit uncomfortable for an hour or two of training, right? And, maybe do something in the vein of having a couple of jackets, have a lighter jacket if your school requires you to wear one. And if not, have a t-shirt under it so you can wear the t-shirt and then put the jacket on when it's time to do jacket stuff. You've got some options in there depending on what kind of school, what kind of practice you're dealing with. But I have yet to see an alternative to some kind of gi, or whether it's a judo or jiu-jitsu gi, or even the Schweitzer style jacket. I have yet to see an alternative to those cloth jacket options for actually practicing clothing grappling. Now, I would like to see a grappling pullover, like a Taekwondo V-neck style, but with the grappling weave. I have not seen one of those yet, except by, individuals who've made attempts at that. And I know that for Irish collar and elbow, they've recently come out with kind of a short sleeve jacket that is grappling suitable, but kind of mimics the old style, overcoat, gentleman's overcoat that would have been worn. So it's got the old English or old UK kind of flavor to it, but it's still grappling suitable. So there are some options out there, but the overall idea is that you have something that is thick and durable that you can actually use as the tool that it's meant to be for that kind of equipped grappling. And I have yet to see a better design. There's nothing that can simulate, buttons, zippers, pockets, things like that, without actually increasing significant risk to your training partners and yourself. So until then, right, the gi is actually a good use. And just like Funakoshi did, borrowing it from judo, look, I'm totally cool. Borrow it from judo, borrow it from jiu-jitsu for whatever you do. I don't care if you do kung fu, karate, and taekwondo, street fighting, whatever, right? Pick one up and just have it waiting, right? You get yourself a belt, learn how to tie the belt, right? You can get a black belt if you want to. Just don't tell people you've officially earned a black belt. I don't really care about that. Get a pretty colored one. Get a kung fu sash for all I care. The early belts were not these thick cord belts. They were also more of a traditional sash, and sashes were worn by English boxers as much as, by Easterners. A cloth sash is kind of a universal clothing fastening item that has spanned centuries and cultures. Everybody can wear a cloth belt, and that is a safe option for wearing a belt for training. So yeah, so that's that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how cool the idea of a gi is, right? And I keep this hanging on, on our bob here for just those occasions. When I got a friend over, or we're doing something that can be illustrated better with a jacket. So I will talk to you guys later. But yeah, go get yourself a good gi. Good journey. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends or anybody else who might be interested in this kind of content. If you happen to be in the Metro Phoenix area, come in for a class or just stop in to say hi. We'd love to meet you. Definitely check out our socials and our website that has all of our contact information and all of the other relevant information. And more than anything, check out our Substack. Our Substack will be containing all of the links that we use to cite and reference in our videos, as well as exclusive training content that will be available for premium members. Memberships are cheap, but you can also sign up for free, and we do have articles for free, and we will have more free articles available for you. It is a fantastic platform for what we are doing here, and we hope to see you over there. So I will talk to you guys later, and look out for the next one. Good journey.